Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're here with Andrew Huntley from DapsCoin, and he is the CTO there. And if you'd
Correct.
like to just start off by introducing yourself, that'd be awesome.
Well, you did a great introduction already, Scott. Andrew, CTO of DapsCoin. Been in IT for about 20 years now. Started with DapsCoin last year, August, when development kicked off. Obviously knowing Adele, she said to me, she said, "Look, you've got an opportunity now." I had just left the previous company that I was working for, and yeah, I've been doing DapsCoin ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually originally from IT. That's what I went to school for 4 years,
All right.
about 6 years ago. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I didn't do a degree or anything like that. I went straight into
oh,
sort
okay.
of, yeah, I did the Microsoft qualifications and just sort of worked my way up from there. In the IT, industry in South Africa is very much more about experience than qualifications.
Hmm.
So that's how I got my foot in the door.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so how busy is your day with everything you've got going on with Daps?
Well, like we had a quick conversation this morning. I'm pretty tired from a lack of sleep. The days vary. Most of the time, it's fairly stock standard. Anything from sort of 12 to 14 hours. Mainly dealing with the technical aspects of the coin itself, dealing with the wallets, dealing with developers. Um, every now and again I do get a lot of DMs from community members asking for help and tech support, all of that sort of thing. I always jump in the tech support channels when there's highly technical questions that need answering that the admins of the current team feel that they can't necessarily answer. Then
Yeah.
there's partnership discussions. There's discussions with third parties. There's dealing with multiple things on a daily basis. Sometimes things pop up, and it sort of distracts you from what you were currently busy with, and it's like 2, 3, 4 hours worth of checking up on things. But it happens a little bit less these days than it used to in the beginning, just after the mainnet launch. But there are still quite a large number of things that do tend to pop up and distract me throughout the day that are, mainly DApps related. But yeah, pretty busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, for people who don't know what DApps is, can you give them a brief introduction to that?
Sure. DApps is a decentralized anonymous payment system. It is a full-blown privacy coin. So what we did was we took multiple technologies that we felt were cutting edge in the space in terms of proof of stake and proof of stake mechanisms, specifically POSB3. And we then merged that with what we felt at the time were the best privacy aspects from other coins like Monero, which is ring CT and ring SIGs and bulletproofs. Uh, a lot of people would say, "Oh, but there's all this new technology that's coming out, Mimblewimble and ZK stocks and ZK stocks and everything else." Like, yeah, cool, that's fine, but we took what we felt were the best, and we've merged those together to form a proof of stake privacy coin, and one of the only privacy coins in the world that is on a proof of stake chain that also has three separate methods of income generation, which is staking, masternoding, and proof of audit mining. Proof of audit, what that is that is our own proprietary consensus mechanism, which audits the emissions of the network. So what happens a lot, what used to happen in a lot of proof of stake chains is that the emissions themselves could actually be forged. So you would get fake
Mm.
stake, you would get long distance attacks, all of that sort of thing that would take place. And basically, what the system does is it audits 60 or more at any point in time. It usually kicks off every hour. The proof of audit miners kick in, and they actually audit the emissions of the chain to ensure that nobody has been trying to inject blocks or attack the chain and thereby generate fake coins, not by generating fake transactions because double spends aren't possible anymore, but by generating that through the emissions.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And I guess you're definitely more secure than Monero since they recently had a hack, or I can't remember exactly what it
I
was. It
heard
was very
about that.
recently though. Yeah.
Yes, I did. I did hear about that. I don't know the details of it just yet. We're probably one of the first, well, not one of the first, but one of the very few coins that has ever done a security audit pre-mainnet release. So instead of just basically going, hey, here's the coin, or here's the code, go use it, and then afterwards going, okay, well, that's a bug, we got to fix that. That's an error, we got to fix that. We did it beforehand. We had the code checked, we had the security audit done, we had the consensus algorithms checked, we had everything basically run through by Red4Sec, and got the bill of health, which was fantastic. So our code as of now is, as far as we know, based on current attack vectors, is unattackable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just ironic that like it happened so recently, and then we're doing the interview now.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, your code, or your like DapsCoin, is very similar to Monero, but Monero isn't really as private as people actually think it is, and that's kind of the thing that you guys solve. Do you want to sort of lay that out for everyone?
I think we need to quantify the statement. Monero is private, right? In terms of the technology that they use, in terms of ring-CT and everything else, that is private. In terms of the DNS nodes that were run, and I'm not sure if they're still run by Fluffy Pony or not, but the DNS seeders essentially for the network, which is what allows wallets to, or it doesn't allow wallets, but it basically hands off connections for wallets to different to other nodes that have broadcast themselves on the network. Those were all centralized essentially, and it allowed there was some IP capturing and all of that sort of thing that took place, and there's some weird issues with that. Daps is essentially private from the word go. Now, again, there are going to be people, and I think in this world, in the world of crypto, we need to be realistic with our expectations, and with our what's the word I'm looking for? With our thought processes, and that is, look, anytime you are sending coins to an exchange with KYC, that is not a private transaction. The exchange knows who you are. Anytime you send coins from the exchange back to your wallet, again, the exchanges know who you are. So I think the full privacy aspect is obviously entirely applicable when you're talking on a peer-to-peer basis. So if I'm sending you coins, or you're sending me coins, nobody knows about that. And that is where the full privacy comes in. Where it also comes in is the fact that there is no way in any shape or form on our network that anybody can query your wallet anywhere, anyhow, and actually acquire your balance or see your transactions. Because of the stealth addressing mechanism, the network knows who it was sent to, but because of the way that the stealth addresses and everything else, all the privacy technologies on top, obfuscate that data, right now, there is no way to determine who has what in any wallet. And we actually do get queries. We get people coming to us and going, hey guys, listen, can you please check my wallet and make sure that my transaction arrived? I'm like, no, we can't do that. There is literally no way to do it. So I think, Daps privacy is most definitely front of mind. We're always thinking about, whenever we do things, we're always thinking about two things. And that's number one, privacy, and number two, potential attack vectors. It's why we removed well poisoning. You cannot send messages and you cannot put descriptions on transactions because we don't want the well being poisoned. There are all these things that we take into account piece by piece by piece every single time we're actually developing something moving forward. For example, there is, I'm not going to say the name of the coin because I just don't do that. But there is a coin which is one of the parents of the code base we forked from, which was Pivx, who has an attack vector through HTTP requests. So you can actually, if you can tell the wallet to go to an HTTP to an address, you can actually force that wallet to do it. It will make that HTTP request, and at that point, you can almost run any JavaScript you want on that wallet, and essentially glean information off of it. We removed those things. We made sure those things down.
Okay. Yeah. And then as I understand it, the way that the stealth works on Daps is you create a different address every time that you send so that it's
Correct.
impossible to. Okay, yeah, okay, that's really cool. And
Yeah, it's only the
and
sending addresses so the way that it works is your receiving address remains constant. So when you generate a wallet and you get your 41 XYZ 910 blah, 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 your 99 character wallet address, that address is what you're always going to give to people, unless you create another thing which is called an integrated address, which is a completely different story. But integrated addresses are basically what people will use in order to have payment IDs. So if I give you an integrated address with a payment ID of like 12345, I know, okay, this is Scott sending me these coins. Like you can do that within Daps. You can do it within Monero as well. It's the technology basically that exchanges and other organizations use in order to determine, like, okay, who are these coins for? Because in a privacy network where every send is a stealth address, how would you know, like, okay, this is, if you just had one master privacy account, like, where is it going? And with Daps at the present moment in time, you can only create one master privacy account, and everything else underneath it is then owned by that private key.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And then I remember another thing that they pointed out when I was at Futures talking with your team. They said that by default, Monero will not necessarily always be private, and you have to enable that. And some people might not know that, whereas you guys already have that on by default. I don't know if that's different now, but at the time, I
Yeah.
think that's what it was.
There's a
Okay.
lot of privacy coins that have that, the sort of optional privacy, and it was kind of a weird thing. I've been talking with a few people in the industry, and they reckon that on average, probably only about 5 to 8% of transactions made on optional privacy networks are actually private. The rest are all open, public facing. People don't seem to think about it. I don't know if they don't care about it, or if they don't worry about it, or if it's just not a factor for them. But it's kind of strange. But yes, with Daps, it's always, you cannot turn it off. You cannot turn our privacy technology off. We completely removed that ability.
Mm-hmm. And I guess because there's a smaller pool of people actually sending privately, it might be easier to try to figure out who those people are, considering only 5% or 8% or whatever are actually using it. Is that correct?
It's correct to an extent. I think like one of the things that we decided upon quite early was the ring sizes, right? So ring sizes within your ring CT is very important, because that's the number of decoys that are added into a transaction in order to obfuscate the real transaction. And if you've got a ring size of 3, for example, well, it's not really going to take very long for somebody to figure out what the real transaction was, which is why Monero is currently at 11. They were going to increase it to, I believe it was 12 with this last release of their proof of work algorithms, but I don't think they did. We decided to make it a variable between 12 and 15. Now, the reason for it is, initially what we had a manual system. So you as the user could go, okay, I want to add 11 decoys, or 13, because we thought, well, people need to be able to choose. Obviously, the number of decoys determines the data packet size, and that data packet size determines the fees that you pay. So we thought, okay, well, maybe we'll just do this, have a manual slider. And then the thought came along, well, hang on, what if somebody really likes the number 13? And so every single time they make a transaction, there's 13 decoys. Everybody else always uses 11. You'd be able to de-anonymize that transaction based on the fact that that single transaction always has 13 decoys. So we completely stripped out the ability for that to be done manually, and we now do it automatically within the system, where it picks a random number between 12 and 15. Decoys, and what that means is that there are far less. You can look at one transaction, it can have 12 decoys. You can look at another transaction was sent by the same person to the same person. It'll have 14 decoys, for example. So what that does is that obfuscates the data even further because there is no predetermined pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. It really seems like you guys have thought of everything that everyone else didn't think of, and you kind of covered that. So that's really awesome.
Thank you.
So what are some of the next big updates coming for DapsCoin?
So at the present moment, what we're really working on is we're working on the stability of the wallet. The current wallets are very, very stable. We have had many good reports coming back from that, but there's still some fine tweaking that we need to do. There's a lot of different areas of the wallet because it's such a complex chain and has so much complexity within the code. There are a lot of things that people some people struggle with in terms of like understanding like how full nodes work. Why do I have to bootstrap? Why does this thing take such a long time to process transactions? Like if somebody bootstraps and open up the wallet, well, it's got to run through I think we're at 222,000 blocks already and it's got to go through every transaction. It's got to apply the private key. It's got to apply to the decoys as well. So there's a lot of fine tuning that we're doing right now before releasing any massive new stuff. However, one of the things that we are trying to work on is a unique way of the wallet actually being able to self-determine whether it's on a fork or not, and actually being able to provide the user with enough data that they can go, okay, cool, yes, I would like you to either automatically unfork yourself, or at least provide them with enough information that they know what to do. So it's all for us. It's all about now that the technology is out there. It's proven itself. We know that the wallets are stable. We know that for 99.9% of the time, everything is good. What we need to start doing now is we need to start really ramping up the user experience and making sure that the user experience is not what we feel it should be, but what we perceive people's desires to be based on the feedback we've got.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of, I guess we already talked a lot about this, but where do you feel that Daps is unique or similar, or how does it fit in with all the other privacy coins out there?
I think where Daps fits in is pretty much in the middle of you've got I don't want to say left or right because somebody might pick that up politically and be like, oh, these guys are right, they're a bit conservative, whatever. I think you have different schools of thought. You have the proof of work schools of thought, and you have the proof of stake school of thought. You have within the proof of work school of thought, you have more of the ring signature side of things, the Moneros, etc., Z coins and all of that. And in the proof of stake side of things, there's PIVX and a few others, not overly many, but where Daps sits is pretty much for me in the middle. It is a very easy wallet to get up and running. You turn on staking, you leave your wallet, and off you go. And I think where Daps fits in is just nicely seated in that middle section where we don't have problems with having to be ASIC resistant because we're not a proof of work algorithm. We're also and there's a lot of people that will argue that ring CT and ring SIGs and bulletproofs are, that's 2019 tech. That tech is, it's horrible. It doesn't work, or it's old. And the thing that people don't realize is, the internal combustion engine's old. We still use it because it works. So I understand a lot of people are trying to push, the boundaries of what is possible with privacy technologies. But a lot of times when that happens, it doesn't work quite well for the first few years because it's still a new technology. So we have tried and tested things that we know work, and we've integrated those into the chain and into the wallets. And that is why I believe we sit firmly smack in the middle of pure privacy, usability, and good practices in terms of how we built the chain, maintain the chain, And in terms of, the income stream model or the emissions model as well is quite lucrative.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. And so where do you see you guys are like where would you ideally end up in like 5 years from now? Like what's the ideal vision for DapsCoin in the long term?
I think it's a very difficult thing to articulate in the current market. I think there's a lot of coins out there that they just don't know what the future is.
Hmm.
But the bear market, I mean, some people are talking about crypto winter, other people are talking about crypto ice age. The bear market, everything is continuing. For us as an organization, we want to see forward movement. We want to take dApps into the next levels by actively growing the ecosystem. A lot of people will talk about use cases and mass adoption and all of these different things. And I think what needs to happen is a bit of a sort of a reality check in order to say, well, look, mass adoption is not going to happen until I can buy my groceries with crypto. If I can't do that, mass adoptions, it's a pipe dream. Um, I think use cases and the ability for things to be used, for coins overall to be used in the real world is excruciatingly important, and will bring that mass adoption to it. And that's what we're trying to do. Is we're actively going out looking for partners. There is one, I can't say who, because we're still in sort of talking, negotiating, looking at integration, et cetera, et cetera. But there is
Yeah.
a really fantastic group who have developed a hardware wallet and a point of sale system that actually works with their hardware wallet.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're really pushing this. Like, these are some of the brightest guys I've ever seen in my life. They are absolutely phenomenal. They've got a great idea, a great vision for their product, and those are the sorts of things that what we want to do as Daps is attach ourselves to those individual products. I'm not going to go and build a hardware wallet. Why
Yeah.
would I? You know,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Uber model, where you take a whole bunch of little things and you plug them all together and you integrate them, and then you eventually have this ecosystem running. But you didn't have to build a GPS or a phone or anything of that nature.
Hmm.
So that's really what our vision is. Where we are 5 years from now, hopefully, with forward momentum, is a top 10, top 20 coin. I think privacy coins are going to do quite well, over the next 2 years or so. But again, that's up to the market. It's up to people. And I
Hmm.
don't think crypto is a very predictable market at this particular moment in time. But for
Yeah,
us,
it's always challenging looking 5 years ahead, but it's always just kind of like what's the ideal if everything worked out perfectly kind of.
let's say if everything goes absolutely peachy, right? The halvening happens and it's 2017 or all over again for like the next 5 years.
Yeah.
We want dApps to be competitive within the privacy market. We want to be seen as a top level coin that has the privacy aspects that people who want that are looking for in a trustworthy system, in a trustworthy manner. And we want to be recognized as a genuine competitor within that specific space.
Yeah.
And I think we'll get there. I definitely do. We're not stopping. It's crypto winter, like everybody sort of hunkers down and goes to sleep. No, we're not doing that. We're constantly pushing through. We're constantly trying to push new ideas and trying to get things moving. So I think it's a possibility. Like, if the stars align, yeah, definitely. Daps within the next 5 years, top 20 coin, one of the top 5 privacy coins in the world, if not the top, in my personal opinion, but I'm biased.
Hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Um, what would you say to someone who says, why do you need a privacy coin? What are you trying to hide? Like, you shouldn't have to hide what you're doing with your transactions. What would you say to someone like that?
The old AML question. Um, Look, my thoughts on it are this, and it sort of harks back to, I don't know if you saw the interviews, And in fact, I don't know if they've published it yet. There's a thing called publicized blockchain that happened around consensus, and we were invited to pitch at publicized blockchain, and I did. And it's a very simple process. In your private life today, how much do you think is private? How much of what you do you think is actually private? Right. So
I would say probably very, very, very little.
Well, you got to think about it in terms of like, do you have a phone, and have you allowed Facebook, Instagram, Google Chrome, whoever it is, access to your microphone or your camera? Right.
Probably, yeah, at various points, yeah, for Facebook Messenger and different things, and then
Exactly.
yeah.
How many times have you been talking about a topic, and this has actually happened to myself, other people I know. You're talking about a topic, you're just having a casual conversation at home, and next minute you open up Pinterest or Instagram, and all of a sudden there's an ad for the thing that you were talking about half an hour ago.
Yeah, all the time, and people are always bringing that up in terms of like, oh, like this is scary, but it's like, but you're also, enabling that to be possible. So.
Well, you are enabling it to be possible, and if you have Alexa or what the Google Nest, as I think they're calling it now, any of these products are listening to you. They are potentially filming you. They're your private life. Like, you think you're all private at home, and you know what you do in the privacy of your own home is your own business. It isn't. It's not that anymore. And I think part of the problem that crypto has, and part of the perception that it has been forced upon us, is that of, if you're making private transactions or you're using crypto, you're doing it for negative purposes. It's it's money laundering. You're trying to subvert the government. You're trying to do all these things. No, it's not. It's not that. It's that I believe I have a right to privacy. That, yes, I may earn a salary and I pay my taxes, and I give all my bits and pieces to the government and everything else. What I do with that money afterwards is none of your damn business.
Yeah.
And people have become, I think, complacent in that. And they go, oh, well, they know what I'm doing anyway, so I might as well just do it, and just, please leave me alone in my house, and don't come knocking on my door, raiding me, or whatever the scenario is. Why? Why do you have to be that way? You don't have to. You can take a coin like Daps, and you can send a transaction. Let's say it was me to you, and you're just like, hey, dude, look, times are a bit tough, or maybe you purchase something for me online, like it's like a game on Steam or something. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll send you the money real quick. And instead of sending cash, instead of it going through the banks, taking ages, you know what? And go into Daps, put in your address, boom, done. There you go, Scott. There's your money paid. Happy with that? Yeah, cool, sweet. Privacy it needs to be a thing. We need to take it back, but people don't. And I understand, governments and everybody else, making this big malarkey out of things and going, oh, the anti-money laundering laws, and we need to know everything. Well, why? Why do you need to know what I'm doing? Where does it stop?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's funny. Like I made a video a while back on mixing transactions for like Ethereum or Bitcoin, and some people said, it's like, well, why would you ever want to do that? Like, you shouldn't care if people were to figure out who's sending what. And I said, I mean, would you give the government your email password? It's like, it's kind of like the same thing. And it's not like they're going to come send emails on your behalf, and that's why you have a password. It's more like, would you care if they read them? And it's like, well, I have nothing to hide, but I don't need them seeing, what I'm saying to people. And it's the same thing for transactions or whatever else it might be. And I think, like you said, people just become really complacent with that, and it's just it's concerning.
Well, oddly enough, there's a gentleman who's part of our community, who He's involved in various levels with government in the United States, and he's a massive crypto fan. And basically his thought process is, I will try and change the perception from the inside out. And one of the interesting things that he said is, and I forget the state now, but there is a state in the US where the purchase of alcohol is considered, it's frowned upon, right? It's not like it's considered a bad thing, but it's frowned upon. It's something that people look and go, oh, geez, you know, why are you buying that? You know, it's nothing more than a cultural perception. Sorry, but within that cultural perception, obviously, there's people like, hey, I don't want anybody knowing what I bought. So so what they do is they cross state borders, and they go and purchase it in a different state, and then they bring it back over.
Yeah.
Why do you have to feel that way about buying a beer or a bottle of wine or something like that? And that's where the privacy aspect comes in, is because integrate Daps into the bottle store. The guy walks in, hardware wallet, tap, pay, purchase is made, and he has his alcohol, and people go, he's got alcohol. Oh, okay, fine. But anybody looking at those transactions wouldn't have the faintest idea about what he has been purchasing. And I think that's key in this world. Is I feel there's a sense of complacency that takes place around people, their transactions, their lives. We've all become we want extreme ease of use, and we're willing to sacrifice anything for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of wrong. I mean, yes, the most private transaction anybody can ever make in the world today, right now, is still cash. Right? As if I give you $10, there is no transactional, unless I get a receipt. There's no transactional reference for that money changing hands. There's no record of it, and that's why 85% of money laundering still takes place in cash, because you can.
And then they still want to point the finger at crypto, right?
Exactly. The CEO of Westpac Bank here in Australia was forced to step down after a Royal Commission discovered hundreds of millions of dollars were laundered knowingly through the bank. I'm sorry, I don't know of any coin that has had hundreds of millions of dollars laundered through it.
Yeah.
But they caught the people. I mean, how complacent can we be, though? Like, privacy, get it done. Use it. Why not use it? Why are people happy with it to be public? What's the argument for that? That's my thing, is like, why?
Yeah. I guess it's like they're not worried until they're worried, right? Like, maybe eventually, or maybe it's already happening now, that an insurance company will look at your transactions and they'll make a decision, based on how much your health insurance is going to cost, or whatever it might be. Like, you're eating too much bacon, or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's happening now. Could be, but it could happen in the future too. And the only way to protect yourself is to just value your privacy and take that more seriously. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's I like the idea of an interconnected world, and I like the idea of where technology can move us to. But I think, like I say, what people need to realize is you're not private in anything that you do. Everything's out there for somebody to find, and at least keeping your finances private, which is a big deal. At least just doing that should allow you a feeling of safety, that that at least there's something that no one can track. Nobody knows.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a start.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't take up all your time.
No,
Um, will
I've actually got a bit of time today. I booked out a block of time. I was like, yeah, we're gonna have a chat with Scott. So
Okay, fair
I
enough.
booked out a block of time.
Um, so what is the current user base size? Like how many people are using Daps right now? If you can share that, I don't know if that's a part of the privacy aspect or if you're able to let us know.
Well, based on the current Telegram numbers, and well, should we call it the, as Adele likes to call it, the vanity metrics? There's between 6 and 10,000 people that
Okay.
that are making use of the system. We do, at last count, I think we had just over 3,000 master nodes, if my memory serves correctly. Pretty much everybody that we know in the in our channels is staking as well.
Okay.
So I would say we're probably, yeah, the numbers are probably quite accurate. We're probably between 6 and 8,000 people currently on the network itself.
Okay. Awesome. And are we going to see you guys at any events coming up soon? Like, should we be on the lookout for you at any specific events?
I would love it if that was the case, but we have to be very careful. We have to be very strategic with where and why we spend money. Going to
Yeah, I
events.
mean, it is a bear market, so that's fair.
Not only that, but look, consensus was great. Uh, I think the event gave us a lot of publicity. I think it was quite fantastic. But there is events these days seem to have changed from what they used to be. Events, or used to be a way for people to connect, for you to people to learn about you and your product. But these days, it seems more of an advertising method. Like, hey, look at me. This is the cool stuff we have. And I get that. That has always been an aspect of it. But um, for events, there are none planned. We're trying to figure out how we're going to strategically move things in certain directions. So the budget spending is something that we take very seriously,
Mhm.
and so for the event side of things, if we can fit one in, that would be really, really great. But right now, we don't have any plans for any events up and coming soon. Although we like, one of the areas that we are targeting is Southeast Asian market.
Okay.
We I think that there is an emerging market within Southeast Asia, potentially also South America, specifically for privacy coins,
Yeah.
and Africa as well. I think the way that legislature and is moving within the Western countries. I think they're going to try and push privacy coins underground, which I think is a good thing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I know that statement sounds a little contradictory, but whenever governments try and push things underground, people ask why.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And once that happens, and once people realize, like, hey, wait a minute, the governments are actually super tracking these things, and they know, trust me, they've got the tools, man. They've got the tools and the know-how, not to necessarily rip apart, privacy protocols and consensus algorithms and all that sort of thing. But I'm 99% sure that they can track what apps people are using, what ports they're using it on, what transactions they're sending on public blockchains. So I think it's going to be an interesting time. But yeah, no, for the event side of things, we will look into it if it's possible, if it's something that we in the community feel is of strategic use, then we'll do it. Otherwise, probably not.
So people should at least stay on the lookout and keep up with your Telegram and your social just to be safe.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, Telegram, 100%. It is our most active platform, and we are always on there. There's admins and moderators on 24/7. Myself and Adele are on there as much as possible in order to help people, give them information, all of that sort of thing.
Yep. Okay, cool. And where can everyone go to learn more about Daps and what is the Telegram so that they know where to go and what's your like Twitter or any of your socials that you want to throw out there?
All of that information is available on DapsCoin.com, the website. The Adele's actually the better one with, she's the marketing guru. She's the better one with all of these things. Literally, you asked me, and I've just drawn a blank on on like what all the different little links are and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So everyone can
My
go to dapscoin.com and
DapsCoin, go to
find-
dapscoin.com. You'll find all of the information there, and about all of our channels, all of the information about Daps, our white paper, all the stuff that we did at Consensus last year. Everything. The new roadmap is out as well. We should have a new newsletter coming out soon. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff on there.
Awesome. And that's pretty much everything from me. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience before we end this off?
Have a look at Daps. Have a look at your privacy. Understand. I think if there's one message I want to get across to people, it's understand that, as our motto says, privacy is a right, not a privilege. But extend that. Really take a look at your life and take a look at where you are and go, what am I willing to share and what am I unwillingly sharing? And consider it from that perspective. Consider it from the perspective of how far are you willing to go with that? And if you feel at any point in time like, you know what, maybe I do actually want to sort of start moving my my fiat assets into digital assets, and I want to do that on a private basis, jump onto our Telegram, ask us questions. We're always there. We're more than happy to answer questions about the technology, about the wallets, about how it all works, and come and engage with us.
Awesome. And I know you're in Australia, so I don't know if you're anywhere near any of the bushfires that are going on. Just stay safe.
Fortunately we're not. We did have some fires around the area, sort of late December, or no, actually early December, but we're nowhere near the fires in southeastern New South Wales, which the mega fire that's burning there at the moment. It's sad. It really is. It's 500 million animals that they estimate are going to be dead because of it. It's tragic. It's almost the size of the UK, right? The size of the fires that are burning right now. So, but no, we're safe.
It's good.
So, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and thank you again for coming on and setting aside some time to do this. I really appreciate it, and I think everyone has a lot to learn about privacy, and I think Daps is probably the best solution out there. So I highly recommend it. I've got some.
That.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some Daps coin myself, and
nice.
and I highly recommend people go and check it out. And again, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate.